Hey everyone, welcome back to Aurelia City in City Skylines. Like always, let's first take a look at what we've built previously. We worked on the general airport area. There were two interchange projects, one closer to the main city, right in front of the airport terminal. I mentioned that this interchange has an important surface exit, which is going to serve the surrounding area, and that's something that we will use today. The other interchange was further away. It was a very interesting build, very complicated one, but also quite necessary for future expansion of this place. Also, we went back to the airport itself and expanded it with the cargo terminal, which turned out looking really good. It had the multiple levels, all the storage spaces sunken beneath the airplane level, and that's definitely a project that I really like. Anyway, today we will go back to the city. The airport was built with a lot of empty spaces between it and the city downtown, let's say. So that's what we will start filling today. This is going to be the first city building on this side of the river, not counting the airport, of course. Here you can see that we have the highway and railroad bridges that we built all the way back in episode 1. We are not really going to connect them today because we are going to build another bridge with some structures around it, some plazas, but mostly just prepare for some future projects in here. So let's go. I'm going to start right away by building this bridge. As you can see, it's not exactly going exactly perpendicular to the river. It's not super obvious how it's positioned, this bridge, right away from this time-lapse shot, but it follows the geometry that was set by the roads near the terminal building, the airport terminal building, because this road goes straight into the terminal building and it's just creating a very interesting geometry in this place. And the fact that the bridge does not go perpendicular to the river, it just creates something, more interesting in the city. I decided to use this structure, this nice red structure. I had to do it using 2 arches because the bridge would otherwise be way too long and I would have to stretch the structure with procedural objects and it would not look very good. So I decided to go with 2. And again, it just created something, more unique, I guess. Anyway, at this point, I was not exactly sure how I'm going to approach this place because right at this point, I had a very rough idea how I want to do this place. But obviously, when you start building something with only rough ideas, it's usually just some trial and error. And by the way, this building right there, look at that. Look how it fits perfectly into that corner. I'm not sure what kind of angle this building has on that corner. It's, something like 15-20 degrees, maybe something like that. But I totally did not measure the angle between those 2 roads. And the building just fits perfectly. So that's always kind of a sign that you are doing something right. So this building is absolutely perfect for this place. And what's really good about it is that you can kind of work with some other elements around that because it has, for example, that little cut through the building that you could have seen me put those tracks through. So that's going to be, again, very interesting element that I can just, do with that building. Now, let's talk more about this bridge. So this bridge has a pedestrian path on the side. It obviously has the asphalt road through the middle. That's the one that connects right into the terminal. And it also has the tram tracks. We obviously need to have tram tracks. We haven't seen trams in quite a while in Aurelia, so I was getting a bit nervous. So we have to have tracks, right? And not just one, obviously. We need to have 2. So those are the tracks that are going into the airport terminal as well. They are going to serve the surrounding area, obviously, too, because this place is probably going to be more heavily residential, especially further away from the river. At the waterfront, it's going to be more commercial, I guess, more officey, but further away, it's going to be residential a lot. As you can see, we actually do have in Aurelia, I was not paying attention to this at all in like a year, I guess, but in Aurelia we have a shortage of residential buildings because it makes sense, because I was placing a lot of offices and commercial buildings and even industrial buildings, but I was not really doing that many like dedicated residential districts in Aurelia just yet. I was doing some, but not really super high density. You can, for example, remember the one near the island city that was a very medium or maybe even low density residential area, so not that many people living in there. So on this side of the river, I definitely want to do a lot of residential buildings, but obviously we need to still do some commercial and office. Like I said, probably closer to the river, but further away I'm going to do some high density residential. You can already see that I placed some towers right there. So while I was explaining all this, we kind of advanced quite a lot in building this area, this waterfront area with some plaza. Actually, I already laid down some basic shapes for the future plazas that are going to be here. I used these the shops, the very long but quite narrow shops because they are very nice to create these kinds of shapes. I'm pretty sure that I already used this technique to create these circular or just curves, some general curves somewhere else in the city. I think that I used it underneath the islands, the park islands above the city in some places, and it only feels right that I'm using the same techniques in other parts of the city. It just follows the same style, So that's something that I'm definitely going to do in the future as well. So covering the roofs, obviously, it doesn't look very good because the buildings have the empty spaces between them and everything. So that's not exactly looking all that great. So I'm covering it with grass because why not? This place is going to be nice and green using this. And it's just going to create, it's just going to create a nice element again. So as you can see, I broke that shape of this shop lane with that office building right through the center. It fits very nicely in there. I didn't really need to do anything with that shape other than just delete some of these shops and just slap that building right in the center. And I really like how it's in there like this. I wanted to have this place also look like it's been rebuilt maybe a couple of times in the past. So behind that office building that I just mentioned, I put some like warehouse buildings, like really old warehouse buildings that I actually placed in Altengrad already. So those are very old looking buildings, but I only used basically the roofs to kind of see them through this high density block. So that might give you an idea that maybe this place used to be some sort of industrial area, maybe. And it was just rebuilt into some of these, mixed use blocks, like you can see right here. Unfortunately, this is something that I'm doing in here that I really liked. These kinds of little procedural object details with, for example, these beams connecting, some places, some like vertical elements of this place. But I'm doing this commentary like 1 month after I built this place, and unfortunately there has been a trend in the workshop. I'm not really sure, maybe it's some kind of a bug in the workshop or in my game, I don't know, but there's been a lot of stuff missing, like a lot of assets just missing. It's either removed from the workshop completely or just slightly changed, which results in just the object disappearing from the game and you have to place it again, whatever. But the point is that these beams that I'm placing in here, that I actually am showing in the time lapse quite generously, they are gone. Unfortunately, I don't have them in the game anymore. I have no idea what pack of roads or railroads maybe they belong to. So these are unfortunately gone. That's kind of a shame, and it unfortunately happened for quite a lot of objects in Aurelia, but I kind of managed to get some of them back. But some things that I built previously in like a year ago are just gone from Aurelia, and I can't really bring them back. So from now on, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on the loading screen mod. Every time it shows me that something is missing, I created like a local backup of all the things that I downloaded from the workshop. So every time something is deleted from the workshop, I can just copy it back into the game and, not risk Aurelia getting completely destroyed by something like this, right? So these are just pillars missing, right? So that's nothing all that super critical, but there has been actually a building that was completely erased from the workshop that I built in like episode 2 or something, right in front of that main train station. And it's a good thing that I'm making videos because I can just go back to episode 2, look at it, see what kind of building that was, and maybe try to figure out if I have it backed up in that local backup, so I can bring it back even though it's no longer available. Anyway, that's just me explaining some technical information, but what I'm doing in here is super important. Now, what I'm doing in here is allowed by the new version of procedural objects, or at least the new version that was new when I was building this, right? Now, when I convert something, I'm actually going to show you in a time-lapse shot right in just a few seconds. So I'm just going to wait with that explanation. But basically what I'm doing in here is obviously placing decals on this plaza and converting it in procedural objects. And here, look at this. If you're going to place a procedural object and you're going to place it like slightly below some level. So for example, if I placed it right there, just outside the road, and I convert it into procedural objects afterwards, then that decal is going to have that top level, topmost level. It's going to have it exactly on the level where I originally placed it, which means that when I click convert into procedural objects, it's immediately going to disappear from any higher level. So that's absolutely critical, that's absolutely critical when you are doing some sort of procedural object decal detailing for plazas. By the way, I should mention that there was a technical difficulty. I did not record how I was making that smaller plaza that you can see right there. I put like a tiny cinematic shot in the middle there while I was rambling about stuff, so sorry about that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So right now I can do the conversion into procedural objects for decals and not really worry about the shapes of the decals anymore, because they are automatically going to be put underneath the networks that are creating the edges of these plazas. This is something that I was really struggling with in Altengrad, especially because I was doing a lot of those cobblestone surfaces everywhere, and I had to always just bring the bounding box of the decal lower and underneath some places, and those kinds of levels are very very small, so I had to really fiddle with all the levels, and it was just taking a long time. Right now, all you can do is just convert it into procedural objects and you're done. So that's a really amazing addition into that mod, and I'm really glad that actually my tutorial that I did on the decals helped in creating this feature. So that's something really cool. That's something really cool that we have in the game right now, and I'm definitely going to use that feature a lot. And like I said, it basically enabled the creation of these plazas and the surfaces on these plazas. As you can see, I used some sort of bricks in there, some kind of red orange-ish bricks, and it's just better than having the pavement, the gray pavement everywhere. It just puts another color into this area. It's not just the green and gray, but it's also something different. All right. So I'm doing a lot of just tiny detailing around this place as well. In this episode, I actually did even some detailing in the backyards of some of these blocks and stuff, because I just wanted to do something new, something that I haven't done really in Aurelia. But I'm also doing these more visible details. So for example, some of those plaza detailing, and also that ferry stop detailing. I did not put any ferry lines here just yet, but we already do have a ferry line in the city, so it's just a matter of time before I finally decide to put a ferry line in here, and there's going to be ferries and people obviously using the ferry lines, and it's just going to come more alive. Anyway, let's go back to some infrastructure, because we kind of left it unfinished. So right now, what I'm doing is creating a prototype for, well, not really an interchange, but some sort of an intersection, low capacity interchange that's going to connect the surface roads that I have right here and that bridge, the bridge road that goes straight into the airport. Now, I'm not thinking that people are going to use this bridge to go to the airport all that much, because it's not the main entrance to the airport. Probably if you want to go to the airport from the city, you are mostly going to use public transport. And if you are going outside of the city into the airport, then you're just going to use the main entrance and not really this bridge. So we do need to have some beefier, let's say, connection between the bridge and the surface roads, because realistically, this bridge is going to serve the local traffic mostly. So I created the color prototype like I showed you in some previous episodes, and I'm just trying to do the geometry right. This interchange, even though it's not really complicated at all, took me a long time to build because I really was not sure how to do it. I didn't really want to have it all that big in this place because it would just not feel right. But at the same time, I didn't want to have it too small because I wanted to have some medium capacity for this place. Now I finally achieved it by using just two height levels basically, and there's a lot of places where the roads are intersecting, so it's not like super high capacity interchange, but it's definitely going to do what it needs to do in this area. So it's connecting to this main road in here. I tried to limit the left turns. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in today's episode. No, I think I'm going to do that in the next episode. I'm going to finish the detailing of this interchange, and it's going to immediately become clear how it's going to work, what kind of lanes are, or what kind of turns are allowed, and just how it's going to perform. So today I'm just going to build the rough shape of it and connect all the ramps. As you can see, there's quite a lot of parallel ramps right there. That's because I wanted to have them go to different levels and kind of separate them before joining them on the bridge. There's been, some struggling with the heights because I didn't really want to put it all the way, that tall, because it would just be too prominent in this place, and I really wanted to have this infrastructure kind of keep it down. Didn't really want to make it super complicated, to make it all that visible in this place. There's going to be a lot of green stuff around it later, so it's just going to be mostly hidden. It's not really going to be all that super visible, all that hard on the eye. All right, so enough of that. Let's just talk about some future plans, because this place, like I mentioned in the start, is going to serve as basically a starting point, because this is the first area that I'm building on this part of the river, or on this part of the map, opposite of the main of the downtown, let's say. So it was really difficult to get it started, and it's just going to serve as a start for future projects. So there's a lot of them, and you can already see what kind of projects I have in mind. So for example, we need to build some transfer stations for the trams, because I have a couple of tracks intersecting in here on different levels, really. This place, for example, that I'm building right here is not going to be finished, and it also calls for a tram stop of some sorts, or maybe like a light rail maybe. So, those are all the things that I will have to add to this place. There is obviously going to be some more taller buildings, some towers going closer to the downtown maybe area, and all kinds of stuff that I really need to expand this place with. There's going to be also some terraforming around this area, but that's all for future episodes, right? So guys, thank you for watching today's episode from Aurelia. Enjoy the cinematics, and if you're new here, you can always subscribe to the channel if you like these videos and want to be notified when I upload some more. I'm not sure when the next episodes are going to come, but hopefully soon. Trademark, right? So anyway, guys, again, thank you for watching this episode. If you liked it, you can put a like down below. You can share the video and all the other things. As always, enjoy the cinematics, take care, and goodbye.